Namaste. Before speaking, I will offer my respects to my spiritual teachers and our lineage, and to the Supreme. Om Agna Timarandasya Agna Agna Salakaya Chaksuru Militanyena Tasmai Sri Gurue Namaha. Bhajasri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Ganadhar Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivindam. Hey Krishna Kauruna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Haribol. So rather serious subject. The search for meaning. And what was the other part of it? Discovering life's purpose. If we are not pondering this, at least from time to time, then we're not in a good place to ponder and think about this. Is actually really what human life is for and about. When I was a kid, it was like almost the most important thing going on. It was like, what the hell am I doing here? What is this all for? Why am I in this particular family? What does life have in store for me? So these were things that sort of really captured my attention from a relatively young age. But generally speaking, for quite a number of years, I was anything from mildly to severely disappointed in trying to get real answers to these things. And so it's going to take, we're going to go on a little bit of a journey here. And I'll ask you to think about some of these things in a personal way in relation. You know, I should think about it in relation to my own life. The second part of the title was discovering life's purpose, your life's purpose. So the very first question is, what is your life? What does that mean? Your life. Unfortunately, because we are not, modern society is not actually very thoughtful. We're quite thoughtless, and we're being dumbed down at an amazing rate. All the technology and social media, it's all designed to completely dumb you down, turn you into a mindless follower. You're just always following. What are you doing? What are you looking for every time you pick up the phone? I mean, it's become so ridiculous. We've become so attached. It's like this thing has become an appendage. It's almost more important than I don't know what, you know? I mean, if you are talking with someone across a table and they've got their phone beside them and you reach over and take that phone and just move it like 2 feet away and then release it. The other person is just like exploding inside their head. Why did you do that? What's going on, you know? And it's just like, you've been assaulted. And it's so ridiculous. And then you're sitting there trying to maintain decorum and engage in a conversation. Maybe it's a business meeting or something. And then that little thing vibrates. And it's kind of like, who's that? Who's that? And it's like, you just can't resist this urge. You have to fight to resist the urge to pick it up. That should indicate that we've really got problems, that we're really suffering from a condition of tremendous emptiness and purposelessness, that a device like this plays such a significant role in my life. People might not agree with that, but that is, in my mind, a reality, and now we are seeing the fruit of this lifestyle choice to become so engaged and married to technology. We're seeing all the studies coming out pointing to massive increases in purposelessness, in depression, in envy of others, of feeling that your life is not complete at all. I mean, that was all there before. It's just becoming magnified. And it's manifest in all these social ills, you know, the breakdown of interpersonal relationships. People, I don't know, you might not agree with this, but when I was a kid, people didn't talk about a relationship. They just got on with it. If you like somebody, you talk to them. And if they talked back to you, then maybe you went out. And then you started hanging out. You just got on with stuff. You didn't have to talk about, I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship right now. Are you committed to this relationship? And, you know, just that word freaks me out. It's like, what's wrong with you? That you've got to talk like this. And this has become the norm. And it's so disturbing that younger generation think this is all normal because they don't know anything else. But in the history of mankind, when you look at the vast history, this is like, what's going on now is totally weird. People are really becoming actually dehumanized. We are encouraged to actually look at others in an increasing utilitarian way. This is really bad. When you look at Buddhism, when you look at Hinduism, when you look at the yoga sciences, when you look at most spiritual traditions, there's a kind of like a little formula that really works, and people are really aware of this. And the formula is something like this: ignorance equals pain. If in my life I am experiencing pain or suffering, and it may manifest as loneliness or a depressive state or just a general unhappiness, a malaise, looking, hunting, searching for something. If I am in a state where I am feeling some pain or suffering in my life, it will be because I have adopted ways of living, I have adopted ideas as being true, and they're not. They're not true. And I may be embracing them and running after these things, chasing mirages all over the place, and I come up empty all the time. I have so much hope. So much hope. What's the divorce rate in Australia? High? As on drugs or another? Does anybody get married with the intention to divorce? Everybody plans for the happily ever after. And the mere fact that we can't manage something like that is indicative of not a brilliant intelligence. Intelligence, in the yoga sense, is not used in relation to mathematical calculations or how if you've got a degree or anything. It is this ability to actually step back in your life and look at things in a very clear way and to make decisions that produce really good results. That's intelligence. You may have, all kinds of PhDs and master's degrees, and you may know all kinds of stuff, and you can be an emotional wreck. You don't even know how to live and how to interrelate with people and how to get through your life. So the use of this word, buddhi, or intelligence, means this ability. And this is basically what we're going to try and tap into today in our conversation. This faculty known as intelligence, or intelligence is a little bit, it's not such a good word because in the Western world everybody thinks they understand what that means. It has a certain meaning to them. But in the yoga tradition, as I said, it means something a little bit more defined than just this, whatever people think intelligence means. This faculty that you have, and everyone has it, provides you with an ability to step back and to exercise control of your mind, of your desires, and to choose a pathway, a course of action that will really deliver a life that's brilliant, that's absolutely wonderful. Going back to the question, or the second part of the topic title, your life's purpose. What is your life? If I ask you, and the guys that were there yesterday, they already know the answer, but you're not allowed to say anything. But think about it for a minute. If you had to stand up now in front of everybody and answer that question, how do you define your life? And almost everyone defines their life as the period between the birth and death. That, you'd say, is my life. Well, I'm going to tell you today that's not your life. That's just a series of events that you go through, but it's not your life. Is that too trippy or what? We can handle that. I'll explain what I mean. See, in the yoga paradigm, in the spiritual, let me just preface with something else. I think most people in the world today, if you ask them, what is materialism? What is materialism? And everybody kind of recognizes that materialism is not good. And some people think that materialism means to desire and want material things and to be overly focused on that, and that's not a good thing. That's generally the idea. And people think, well, if I had a more spiritual life, if I led a more spiritual life, that would be better. There'd be more balance. But if you ask people what that means, what does it really mean? This kind of like all kinds of fluffy answers. It's not really grounded. And the reason we have difficulty actually answering with tremendous clarity is because we are stuck in a certain paradigm. And that paradigm is the idea that this body I'm wearing around is me. This is who I am. I am a man, I am a woman, I am young, I am old, I am tall, short, fat, thin, whatever. All of the things, racial identity, and now they've thrown in all kinds of weird things, as part of your identity. Your desires now are your identity. And it's just like, this is ignorance. Because the reality is, this is not you. This is not who you are. The idea that I am any of those labels which are attached to my body is materialism. The idea that I am material is the foundation of materialism. And everything that flows from that just produces unlimited amounts of complication and difficulty and suffering. This is the real meaning of materialism. And from that flows the idea then that since I am material things will make me happy. Material things will satisfy me and fulfill me. But the reality is that you are not. You are a spiritual being having a material experience. You are a spiritual being within this particular temporary body. The events that this body goes through from the time it's born to what's experienced as death is not your life. You are the life of that body. You are the life, you are the one that brings animation, you are the one who brings personality, you are the one that brings sentience, you are the one that brings desire. All of these things you bring to the table. What's the significance? Well, I mean, there's huge amounts of significance to that fact, but in relation to today's topic, your body will have characteristics. And when I talk about the body, I'm not just talking about the gross physical body. We're talking also of the mind. Unfortunately, Western medicine and science has tended towards this idea that the mind is a function of the brain. The brain, with all its electrical impulses and all these things going on, manifests a mind. But if you look at the writings of some of the leading neurosurgeons in the world, I mean, we're talking about people that are deeply involved in both practical brain surgery and study and exploration. Many of them, if not most of them, the real serious guys will say that they do not accept that the mind is a function of the brain. They're not sure exactly what it is. And they have these, often when they do brain surgery, the patient needs to be partially sedated. They use a lot of local anesthetic and things. So somebody's actually there and often having a conversation, and the surgeon is sometimes asking things because they want to know that they're doing the right thing, and they can tell by people's reaction. So this guy's saying that this lady's talking to him about this experience and manifesting these emotions that now should be not there because he's just removed the part of the brain that's, meant to be responsible for producing these things. So it's gone. And he's just like, this is amazing. It's a way more complicated than just this materialistic idea that you are the body and the mind is produced by activity in the brain. In the yogic teaching, the paradigm is that you have a living being. This living being there are different words to describe what the living being is. One of them is Atma. This word Atma, literally it means the self, who you actually are, the Atma. Sometimes it's referred a little bit longer, Jiva Atma. It's also the term used most often in yoga is this term Purusha. Purusha literally means person. It implies the one who is seeking to engage and enjoy the person. So their description of the content, the spiritual content of your identity is deeply personal. I don't like using the word soul in conversation because in the Western world and in Christianity, the concept of the soul is utterly vague. By that I mean people talk about, I lost my soul, or I have a soul. Okay, if you have a soul, who are you? Who are you? Who is the possessor of the soul? It's not the body. And so it leads to these ideas that the soul, when they use that word, is kind of just like an energy source. You get the Energizer Bunny. They used to have those ads, and you put the battery in, and then the bunny can, play the cymbals, and it walks along. But you take the battery out, and the bunny kind of falls over, and you look at the bunny, it's kind of useless now, and you look at the battery, and it's kind of like useless too. But if I put it together, wow, now I've got something complete. When people have this type of thinking in relation to our spiritual nature, this is completely wrong. It's true that the spiritual being provides the energy or the life force to the body, but it's more than just a battery. It brings with it personhood, this who you actually are. The one who is seeing, they use this word, drishta, the seer. They used to think about these things. They would go into like profound meditation on these subjects. I'm just pulling out my phone because I'm thinking, I don't even know what time I started, and I could have you here until about 10 o'clock, so I better be reasonable and make it so I can see how long we're going on for. So, this seer, they would study, the yogis would study these things. They really wanted to get to the bottom of what is life. Who am I? What is the nature of my connection with this body and with this world? Where will I find true happiness? Why do I even want to be happy? What's wrong with being miserable? I mean, these are pretty heavy questions. You know, we assume, we accept sort of ideas and things, you know, like without questioning. But they were intensely aware. You know, most people, if you ask the common person, how is it that you can see? How do you see things? And everybody goes, that's a silly question. You see with your eyes. And the answer is no, you don't see with your eyes. Your eye is a gushy ball of gelatinous substance. And it has a lens on the front, and it has this thing that works like an aperture. And in the back of it, there are sensory, optical cells, light-sensitive cells, so that when light enters into your eye, it hits those things at the back and sets off an electrical impulse. And that electrical impulse goes down the optic nerve to the visual cortex, and it explodes with all these electrical impulses. You don't see because you have an eye. How is it that you're seeing pictures? This has become a big problem in the world of, well, I think it's a problem, in the world of quantum physics. You know, and they're talking about, so what, everything that you perceive, it's not really happening out there, it's happening inside your cranium. If you actually think about the process, it's kind of like quite bewildering. How is it? All these things that we take for granted, the ability to hear and to smell and to taste and sensation and touching, how is this happening? And who is perceiving? The body is not the one that's perceiving. The body is an instrument for receiving this information. But who's actually perceiving it? Who's seeing it? This is the Purusha, the living being who resides within the body. And in the yogic sciences, where they were deeply absorbed in personal experimentation, they took knowledge that had been passed down since time immemorial on how to conduct this journey of discovery. And they unwrap things layer by layer to come to this point of this amazing experience and this enlightenment, this awakening to discover who they really were. Their process of doing it was quite complicated and is no longer very practical today, but that does not deprive us of the possibility of becoming enlightened and really coming to understand who I actually am. When we talk about life's purpose, as I mentioned earlier, everybody has a body, a physical body, and a subtle body that goes with it, that's comprised of what's called the mind and the intelligence, or buddhi, and the ahankara, or the false ego, the false concepts of who I am. And this really deeply affects us to the point that we have no awareness of our actual spiritual nature. We've just become so totally engrossed in this body and this external world that we think that this is everything. We think this is the reality. We think all the way up until the point of death. Death is the most extraordinary experience. It's utterly extraordinary. And one should learn how to face it by spiritual cultivation, so it's not a big deal. But we have sort of like assumed many things. There are certain drivers that we have. Happiness is one. Why do you want to be happy? Why? Why do you want to be happy? Huh? What's that? Can't hear so well, sorry. Live longer. Well, I got news for you. You are eternal. You can't get longer than that. This question, it actually has to do with the discovery of my real spiritual nature. Your spiritual nature is to exist in a state of happiness. When you bring that to the body, when you bring that to this experience of having a body and totally thinking this is you, then you feel driven and compelled to search for happiness. But we often end up making a huge, huge mistake. We tend to equate sensual pleasure with happiness when there is actually no connection, like zero. If I ask you what's your favorite piece of music, think about it for a minute. What's that one piece of music that when you hear it, just like, it's going to give you goosebumps, or you feel emotional, or that thing that you really like. Okay, let's put you in a chair, and we'll tie you to the chair so you can't get up and wreck the experiment. We're going to put headphones on, and we're going to play that music non-stop for 48 hours. What's your favorite food? That thing that when you eat it, it's just like, oh, God, I love this. Okay, we're going to lock you in a room. This is all you're going to eat for the next week. 3 times a day, 4 times if you want. This is all you're going to have. No variation. This is it. This is what you're going to eat. Why is it that things that are sensually pleasurable can at one time be equated with happiness, but exactly the same thing can produce tremendous suffering? Don't you think that's extraordinary or not? Or you never thought about this? No, we don't think about it. We're just on the move. And we've bought into this idea that if you want to be happy, you need to mix it up. And they have the cute saying, variety is the spice of life. And that's a recognition of the fact that material experience doesn't actually produce happiness. Because if it did, the more you did it, the happier you would become. But the opposite is true. Is this too cosmic, or we're okay? Huh? This is serious stuff. What I'm laying out is, for the purpose of trying to prod you into a change in life. Trying to adopt maybe a new way of looking at things, of doing things. We have also a great desire to both love and to be loved. This is a spiritual desire. It is not coming from the body or the mind. It is actually a spiritual desire. And because it is a spiritual desire, we always have this attraction and this desire to both love and to be loved. And we hope for this aspiration of, this very perfect and intense, wonderful love. But our experience in life, it doesn't matter how nice our partner in life is, or relationship of parents with children, or children with parents, or friends and friends. It doesn't matter how nice it is not fulfilling. You want more. You want more because this desire is coming from a very profoundly wonderful and deep place. It is part of your eternal spiritual nature. Now, what happens? Because majority of human beings on the planet are totally lost in this illusion. It's an illusion that this body is me. Everybody's living out this life. They talk about self-esteem in relation to their body. Oh my God. That is just like, and this whole thing about body image and this stupid selfie thing. Like 10 years ago, just 10 years ago, if you went to a park or somewhere and there were people and you went up to someone and you gave them a camera and said, "Can you take a picture of me, please? Thank you." And then you got the camera and then you went over to someone, "Can you take a picture of me, please?" And then you kept doing it to different people. People would be looking at you like, "Whoa, this person is weird." And now this has become a cultural norm. And what really causes me unhappiness is the idea that people really think they're taking a picture of themselves. No, that's not you. That's just some body that you're hauling around. And if you're going to tie your idea of worthiness and lovableness and self-esteem to this piece of meat, then I'm sorry, you're going to have a miserable life. It's going to be completely miserable. You can't stay all healthy and young forever. No. You get to a certain age, everything starts heading south. Big time. Oh, I know, let's go to the plastic surgeon. Let's get a bit of body modification. Let's put some plastic in there. Keep my boobies all perky. Now people get butt implants. What are you thinking? That you would put stuff in your bum to make it bigger, and that's a sign of beauty. This is just like, this is mental illness. I'm serious, it's mental illness. This is not normal. And we're pushing the limits on it because of this absorption in materialism, the idea that the body is me. And then we've got these ideas, how am I going to have the perfect life? I need to look like this. I need to go on this vacation. I need to buy this. I need to have this. My friends have got that. I got to have that too. We're not even aware of the fact that probably the majority of ideas floating around in our head have not even come from us. They've been put there by other people. There is this amazing science that was developed. It started in the 1920s. It was introduced in America by a guy by the name of Eddie Bernays. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And he started this whole process of manipulation using psychological tricks and traps to get people to do things that they wouldn't normally do. His first attempt at doing this was quite amazing. They targeted women. He was approached by the tobacco industry who said, "We've got a problem. Women don't smoke." It was considered really uncool for women to smoke. That was a thing men did. And women just didn't do it, and men didn't approve of it. So Eddie Bernays said, okay, I'll take the job if you provide me with, I need to engage 2 psychologists, and we will come up with a means by which we will get women to smoke cigarettes. And so what he did was he approached these socialites, women from the upper classes in New York at the St. Patrick's Day parade. This coincided with women's push for suffrage. So here we have women demanding equality, and so it should be, and be allowed to vote. I mean, it's just so caveman-like not to, Anyway, been there, moved on from that. And he approaches these women and he tells them that, I want you to do something. We really need to put a focus, a lens on what you're doing. And we need to say that enough is enough. I want all of you women to hide cigarettes in your clothing. And when you are marching down the street, this contingent of suffragettes, at my signal, you will all take out the cigarettes and light them up and walk down the street smoking. Then Eddie Bernays got all of the press people together, and he told them, today something historical is going to happen. That women's suffrage movement, they've had enough. They're going to be lighting up torches of freedom. Every single major newspaper in every European country and American country carried pictures of these suffragettes in the St. Patrick's Day parade with the byline, women lighting up torches of freedom. And then all the women decided, okay, this is how we're going to stick it to the guys. We're all going to start smoking in public. And of course, the tobacco industry was just like, oh my God, we did it. It was just gross manipulation. And within a period of about 5 years, they had developed all of the techniques that were going to now be used to manipulate people, to get them to buy products that they wouldn't do if they weren't subject to the manipulation. And this has become ingrained as part of society. Many of the things that we adopt today as being normal, they were introduced back in the 1920s to the 1950s. A lot of them were introduced. There was no fashion before. There was fashion amongst the very high-level people in society. That was a common thing. But the ordinary people, they dressed in decent way. There were trends, but there was not the idea of fashion as it exists today. Eddie Bernays introduced that. And what he did, he targeted women. He saw them as being more susceptible than men. And so he used these techniques and tools. And what he would do is get women that were like aviators or had done something really special and outstanding, and he would pay them to present messages in press conference. And that clothing should express your personality. He wrote that. Clothing should express who you are, your individuality. People didn't think like this before. That was considered like, what? And now we're totally lost in this world, being utterly manipulated by so many different forces. People marketing things, people selling happiness. This is what they're offering. This is how you will be happy. Coca-Cola is so gross, they just come out and say it. Open happiness. You're joking. How can you say that with a straight face? That stupid thing inside that bottle that sugary syrup that's full of carbon dioxide. I mean, if you left it out in the sun, open, and all the carbon dioxide went and it was warm, you try drinking it and see what it does to you. It's just like revolting. You know, because it's cold and it's carbonated, it's sort of like, and people have built association that these things, I associate them with happy times, with pleasure and all these kind of things. So fundamental reality is a lot of the ideas that we have that we're walking around with have been put there by others. They have not come from us. And we've become very much controlled by economic forces in the world, including, you know, and the big focus is the search for happiness. But as a society, are we becoming happier? The answer is no. The rise in depression is astonishing. It's shocking. The rise in suicide is just frightful. All of these different things that people are going through is just like, it's outrageous. I asked yesterday, because we were talking about the subject, I didn't get a figure. People said it's high. In New Zealand, where I'm living, 1 in 10 young people, 25 down, 1 in 10 every year either contemplates, plans on, or attempts suicide, or is engaged in physical harming. How happy are you to be doing this? The consumption of mood-altering substance is so pervasive. So many people need to take different forms of stimulants and uppers and downers and things just to get through the day. And we're so caught up in our head and everything around us. It's like we've lost the ability to step back and question, is there something wrong with where I'm going? Is there something wrong with where we're going as a society? Who's driving this bus? It's like we're all on for the ride, and we're not even sure who's driving it and where it's going. But there are symptoms and signs of what's happening. The question of my life's purpose, it is a fact that you will have a nature associated with your body. Anybody that studied Ayurvedic medicine or Chinese medicine, these systems, holistic systems, they understand that with different kind of bodies, subtle and gross bodies, comes different types of temperaments, different types of attractions, different types of capability and things. And people generally, that in their life, it's just like, I hate my life, I hate my job. Why can't I just find that kind of work and the thing that if I just do that, I'll just be perfectly happy? Well, even if you find the most suitable kind of work, the most suitable kind of occupation and things that's really in harmony with your physical and mental nature, it is still not going to satisfy you. It won't satisfy you because you are not addressing your deep spiritual needs on a spiritual level. In the Vedas, they give the example of like a bird cage. And it's a beautiful golden bird cage, and it's decorated, and this beautiful laced cloth around the bottom, and there's a bird in there, and the guy just comes in every morning, and he loves this bird cage, and he's just like taking care of it constantly and embellishing it and adding to it, and just totally focused there. And he's forgetting about feeding the bird. That's us. This is an ancient example. It was true then, and it's even more true now. That's us. We are just totally engaged in that which is external, in that which is temporary. And it doesn't matter how well you get it lined up and organized, it cannot satisfy you. It cannot fulfill you. You are a spiritual being with spiritual needs. Your need for love and happiness is actually a profound spiritual need. It cannot be fulfilled within the realm of that which is material and that which is temporary. It's kind of like we've lost the plot. You imagine somebody that's, really into working out, and they go to the gym, and they decide they really want to develop some just outstanding calves and thighs, and they're just working on it. But they decide that if I do both legs, it's kind of like, it's going to be more perfect if I can just really focus on one leg and put all the effort in there, and I'm just going to hop everywhere on one leg, and I just build these massive thighs and just sculpted calves, and oh my God, look at that, that's amazing. And the other ones all just kind of limp and, dangling there. That person would be loopy. And that's us. Our total preoccupation and focus is this period of time between what we call birth and death and all a series of events and activities. But you will get to the end of that road, you will come to experience what is called death, when you have to leave that body and leave everything behind. Gone. It's done. It's over. That's all gone. All the stuff that we thought was so important and we were so totally focused on, it's gone. The quest for happiness, the quest for love, is actually a quest for enlightenment, to come to know about our true and eternal spiritual nature and identity, to reconnect, to actually uncover. It's like we've become totally covered. We've utterly lost the plot. It's like somebody that's just so totally out of it on some heavy drug. It's always hilarious. They do these things on YouTube where somebody comes from the dentist office or somewhere, and they're just saying all these ridiculous, weird things, and they don't know where they are and who they're with, and their dad or somebody's there with a phone videoing it, they upload it because it's hilarious. It's like we've disconnected from the spiritual reality of who we are. So the process by which a person gains an experience, an awakening of our true spiritual identity, the process of meditation was for that purpose. This is why people engaged in spiritual practice. Spiritual practice is not some fluffy unicorns, rainbows, feeling nature. No, that's a material experience. It's not spiritual. You can go and look at beautiful sunsets. It's not a spiritual experience. It's a material experience. It's a subtle material experience. It's nothing wrong with it, inherently bad or anything. But, if you want to have a spiritual experience, you're not going to get it by looking at sunsets. Wow, that guy's so mean. Somebody's got to say it. The process of meditation, many people equate the idea of bringing the mind into focus and being able to just focus on one thing and, to feel perfectly relaxed, to be able to just let go of everything and, as being meditation. And that's not really meditation, that's sort of things that were done in preparation for meditation. They're not actually even required. Meditation, we should understand, means that, it's like we're in this deep, dark hole. For whatever reason, we're in this deep, dark hole, and I need to get out. To get out, I need some help. I can't just do it on my own. There's a brilliant verse in the Bhagavad Purana that speaks to this, that if you are blind and if you're in this kind of condition, you cannot effect your own spiritual liberation. You do need help. And the help comes in the form of there's this process of engaging and using what is called spiritual or transcendental sound. And it's like, okay, I'm probably going to use a gross example, but I don't know what else to use. And sorry to the dog lovers, dog poo is really terrible stuff, right or not? It's gross. If you step in it and get in your car, it's like really bad news. If the dog is out on its own or with an irresponsible owner, and it takes a dump on the grass, and it's left there, and it's exposed to the sun, what happens? Over time, the sun disinfects it. The smell all goes. It becomes completely transformed to now like a whitish piece of chalk or something, and eventually breaks down and goes because of the power of the sun. So sorry to use that example, but it sort of works somewhat. If we want to achieve true spiritual realization, then the most effective way is to take ourself, our spiritual being, our body and our mind, and immerse it in that which is transcendental. It's like bathing in the ocean or jumping into a cool river on a really hot day. And it has the effect of purifying us and transforming us. And what it does is it gradually begins to remove the layers of filters that we have taken on, and that's utterly distorting our vision of who we are and our experience of who we are. And it brings us eventually to the point of being able to be really deeply connected again in our identity, our spiritual identity. And this is what human life is for. Animals don't engage in this activity. In the Vedic teaching, the yogic teaching, there's no difference between an animal and a human. From a spiritual perspective, it's the same being inside. That's why an animal, if you get to know them, they can express individuality and personality because it's part of actually their eternal spiritual nature. But the nature of the body is that it is so gross that they are compelled to act on their urges and desires. The nature of the body, they can't resist. Human beings have this faculty, I mentioned before, buddhi. This faculty makes it so that we can actually step back from our life. I run some programs in New Zealand in one of the maximum security prisons. We deal with really hardcore criminals, and we teach them to use meditation and mindfulness to really change their life, to have a whole different experience. So one of the things that we have great difficulty with in life is the fact that we're overly moved by emotions, and especially the real crappy ones like anger and fear or envy and hate. These things really affect us deeply. And so many people's lives, are filled with unhappiness, particularly because of anger. When people are just so frustrated and pissed off with life and their experience and everything, and they're just lashing out. People get married. And it's just astonishing how many marriages or partnerships where anger and violence is so pervasive. And it's like people are just they're just so out of kilter. They're so out of touch with their spiritual being, who they really are. And they're just so frustrated and just so immersed in all this stuff. The tendency is to instantly begin to act, particularly on something like anger. We have this faculty, this ability, that if you learn how to use it, that even in times when you're losing the plot, utterly losing the plot, you can go like, whoa, this is not cool. And actually begin to step back and disengage and say, okay, we're taking a time out. Isn't it amazing that people wait until they're in the middle of a fight to start bringing up all the things they don't like about the other person and want to change it? That is incredibly unintelligent. Is there a worse time to have a conversation about things you don't like about someone when you're in the middle of an argument? This shows you how incredibly stupid we are. How we've lost the plot because of this material conditioning. So in the yoga process, you learn to start utilizing these different faculties. The process of meditation, really, it empowers people to be able to disengage and to step back, take a time out, hit the pause button, and start figuring out, do I want a better life or not? Is this thing that I'm doing now and engaged in now, is this going to really make my life better? The answer is no. Then why do it? It's become habitual. We've become so conditioned. The process of liberation in yoga is utterly enlightening. And it frees one from all of this conditioning that we've become so controlled by. It's such a wonderful gift. It's such a wonderful thing. These practices are essential parts of being able to live a life that is truly worth living. And when I say a life, I'm talking about in this body, in this lifetime. But it doesn't just happen by itself. One must engage in a process of cultivation. We got where we are as a result of doing all the wrong things. Now you have to start learning to do the right things. Wherever you find yourself at any time, we are there as a result of choices that we made and actions that we have taken. If you are unhappy in your life, you must accept a big chunk of responsibility for at least, agreeing to go along with these things. Learning how to make really good choices is really empowering and transformative and a possibility for anyone and everyone. Doesn't matter how beat down you are, how screwed up your life is, how much you're struggling with addictions or problems, and it doesn't matter. Because what we're talking about is uncovering your actual spiritual nature that's there. It's just covered up. And this is a process of learning how to uncover it. And this is really what life should be. It becomes now life instead of like Walking Dead. Many people's life is like a zombie movie. Really, it's just like the things people go through. I don't laugh at people. It's just like I'm astonished at how much we are influenced by these things and how powerful these forces are. But you don't have to surrender to them. There is an option. There is a choice. Okay? That should be your purpose. And I promise that if you walk this path, you will come to experience what happiness really is. And you will come to experience the true nature of the love that we seek. That's the offer. Thank you very much. Was that okay? Not too harsh? Huh? Anybody have a question? We've got a lady lurking with a microphone here. She's going to come and...
Thank you, sir, for the speech today. It's quite liberating. I guess I have a question from your discussion is this uncovering enlightenment. Just trying to seek an answer for many days now is how an enlightenment person's mind like. So if I compare a healthy, normal person who is like managing his tension, his anxiety, his life, very good way, in a healthy way. Now, where's the distinction or where's the difference between a enlightened person and a healthy person? I guess my question have a sub-question. For example, if I'm a healthy person and if I find some person hate me, some people hates me, but I'll probably think that, oh well, not all the people have good taste, and I'll move away. Now, what an enlightened person thinks like, and what his mind's like. I guess I probably have cleared my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
So in one of the very ancient and famous of yoga texts is the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita it states that the mind can be one's greatest friend or one's greatest enemy. That's an astonishing thought. I mean, I treat my mind like some sacred thing. I lie down with it, I cuddle up to it. Whatever's going on in that mind, I embrace as being true and real. I'm totally, on board with my mind. Enlightenment will really mean, and can I just say that in the normal condition, people they're not even aware that they can actually exercise control over their mind, or that they shouldn't necessarily be going with everything that's going on in your mind. Just because it's in your mind doesn't make it sacred or good or healthy. So enlightenment, full enlightenment, means that a person may still be occupying a body and utilizing a mind, but they are utilizing the body and the mind as tools or as a vehicle. And they are there for the purpose of fulfilling the desire of the actual spiritual being itself. It's possible to develop what you've described as healthy thinking. Healthy thinking, you know what I mean? Dealing with stuff, that's all good, and what you said is right. And it really is a major step towards living a really balanced and purposeful and a healthy life. But if a person has not come to the platform of actual enlightenment, there can be a period in time later, even though you're doing everything well now, that you become gradually influenced. And influences are always subtle and gradual. And then they grow and become stronger, and before you know it, you're heading down a direction that you never anticipated before. So to have the right kind of thinking and to act the right way is always good. But when a person becomes more spiritually aware and they're developing spiritually, and the process of spiritual enlightenment, number one, I'll tell you this, you should not think that you cannot become perfectly spiritually enlightened. Each one of you, it is your actual nature to exist in a state of enlightenment. You have adopted these coverings, and now you're temporarily covered, but that's not your eternal nature. It's not like you have to be special. You are already special. You're an amazing spiritual being. You've just lost the plot. And it's now a question of peeling off all the covering and to actually experience the reality of your spiritual being, your essence. So until that happens, a person, even though they may be thinking right and acting right, can at some point in their life begin to deviate. So being able to stay on the proper course and for it to grow and develop means you must be engaged in an activity that's transformative, that's going to transform your experience of life, the ideas of who you are. Okay? Yeah.
You mentioned that your spiritual being is eternal.
Yep.
So when your body dies, where does that go?
Where does that go? We're going there, are we? Well, in the yoga system, they accept the reality of what's called transmigration of the soul. Like when you show up in this lifetime, you know, people have got, my friends just got like a new baby, and when you see a new baby, it's just like, the heart melts and it looks so beautiful and pure and clean. What you're not seeing is that little dude showed up with massive amounts of baggage. And that baggage is going to be gradually unpacked through life. And there are things that come to us unasked that are actually the fruit of previous action. Where we will take birth, the gender of the body, the nature of the body, these things are considered to have been predetermined by our own choices and how we lived previously. And so the understanding is that if a person has not reached a state of actual spiritual enlightenment, then at the time of death, depending what they are deeply absorbed in and what they're deeply attached to and what their desires are, there will be a continuum. And one will remain bound to the material world. Doesn't sound like much fun, does it? It's not fun. Sometimes people fantasize about what they call reincarnation. Oh, I used to be this and I used to be that, and we went to some guy and they took us back, regression, and that's all just garbage. That's just fantasy. There is nothing wonderful about birth and old age and disease and death. It's not wonderful. It's just something you've got to put up with. And if you become spiritually enlightened, it's easy to put up with. If you're not enlightened, then you become totally controlled by those experiences. That really determines what you're thinking and what you're experiencing. Okay?
I just have a question. You were talking about happiness on Earth, that happiness doesn't really exist here on Earth. So why did we come here in the first place?
I'm not going to say that happiness doesn't exist here on Earth. It's possible even to experience true spiritual happiness while embodied, while in the material world. It's possible. Why did we come here? My God, this is like... We all suffer from a sickness, a spiritual sickness. Sometimes it's been referred to as envy of the highest truth or envy of God. In this world, our experience is that we see everything in relation to ourself. My husband, my wife, my parents, my children, my brothers and sisters, my country, my whatever. Whatever groups we associate with and everything, mine. I see it in relation to me. I have this compulsion and this need to be at the center of everything. You see, when a group of people get together, I mean, it's really good watching little kids because they're unaware that people are watching them. And they haven't learned how to cover up stuff, and so all of the crap just, manifests, what they're really thinking and what's going on. But, you get a group of people together, and everybody's competing to be at the center of things. Some people want to be the most beautiful. Some of the people are going to be the sexiest. Some of the people are going to be the funniest. Some of them are going to be the most intelligent. Some of them are going to be, everybody's trying to sell you something so that you will allow them to be at the center of things. And we struggle constantly to be in that place and to see everything in relation to ourselves and us at the center of things. That is the problem. And that's what we're dealing with. You know what our true nature is? Our true nature is not to be the exploiter of everything. I mean, selfishness and self-centeredness and the selfie, they're all connected, right? This is a problem. This is a problem because it's not really in harmony with our spiritual nature. The actual spiritual nature of the living being is to love and to manifest that love in care and service and doing things, giving. Whereas self-centeredness is all about taking. What am I going to get out of it? And anybody that's actually done something nice for others, engaged in some charitable thing, helped somebody who is truly in need, without any expectation, you do something, there is this instant feeling of warmth, and it's so nice. And the reason that we experience that is because for a short time we're able to reconnect with part of our actual spiritual nature. Whereas if we are going to live in a world where it's all about me, I'm the center of everything, this can never end well. It is always going to result in unhappiness. But we have free will. We can choose that course or we can choose another course. We should learn from our mistakes. We should learn from our unhappiness. We should learn from the problems that we're encountering, trying to be the center of everything, and choose another course. Okay?
Have you found that, like, your personal relationships have evolved with you throughout your journey? Or have you disconnected from certain relationships because they just don't understand you, or?
No. The more you grow spiritually, the more compassion that you will experience, the more you will want to be of help to others. So people that are closer into your circle, your life becomes directed in another way. Instead of trying to take and exploit, it also becomes about giving and sharing. So what you're asking, the question that you're asking is important, because there are certain, within Christianity, within the Muslim world, within Buddhism, within different schools in Hinduism, there is this idea that many people would engage in a monastic sort of life, or a withdrawal into a very small world and a pushing everybody away so they can really focus on their spiritual cultivation or lead a contemplative life. That is meant to be part of a process. It's not meant to be the end of things. Sometimes people feel that when they sort of like step back from things a little bit, they can sort of focus on their spiritual development and growth. But for one that is actually developed spiritually, there is no need to disconnect from society. One actually feels a compelling desire to be connected with others in order to try and be of some help. And so that breeds a different type of relationship. And those relationships are very, very wonderful. They're very, very nice. They're healthy and spiritual in nature. Okay, still going. Okay. I'm good as long as you're good.
You spoke about cuddling the mind and accepting whatever comes up within it. So in terms of negative emotions like fear, anger, extreme sadness and stuff like that, I guess, do you have any tools or advice to lean into those, or is it more that when they come up you're meant to step out of it and observe?
Yeah, you're meant to step back from it, and try to apply. I mean, what's good? Number one, you need a spiritual process that's going to bring personal change and make it so that you can more easily apply the knowledge that you may receive. I mean, a big part of the process of spiritual growth is to, just like we're having a conversation here, I'm sharing with you not stuff that's got anything to do with me. It doesn't come from my mind or anything. It is things that I have been given. And it's taken me time to actually understand what has been given and what these things mean and how to apply them. And so I feel tremendously blessed and fortunate. And I have a deep responsibility to my teachers to try and share what I've been given. And this is the spiritual knowledge. When we are able to actually begin to apply these things to our life, it means we are living wisely. This is really what wisdom is the practical application of real spiritual knowledge is wisdom. So there are certain things that you must learn and try to understand, and then consider how you're going to apply them in your life. And we don't have to be in a big rush. For most of us, it's going to be a very gradual process where you add things little bit by little bit. I was talking yesterday with someone here, and because she's connected with corrections here, and I was talking about our experience in the prisons. It's you go in with these murderers and rapists and really heavy guys, tattooed up, and they're all bulked out from weights, and they come in. And they sit there and they're looking at you. It's like just hard. Their life has been incredibly one of tremendous suffering. You can't even imagine what's going on inside these people's hearts and minds. And they've learned to put up this hard protective thing. But then as you begin to feed them with ideas and ask them to think about it and engage them in the process that we do, the transformation is amazing. Like about usually 4 classes in, they all start coming in, and then they sit, and they're just like little kids, they're like, okay, what, and it really, connected with your question also, because they feel that you're not passing judgment, that you actually care about them, and you have real tools that can help them. They feel really touched that someone, and maybe this is the first time for many of them, someone is actually caring about them and trying to do something. So the necessity of taking the knowledge and learning how to apply it and engaging in an activity that begins to change us inside out is really important. So learning how to disengage and step back from little things, step back from things for a little bit. So it's a bit of a whirlwind there, and rather than getting lost in it, you just accept, okay, it's doing this, and my mind's flipping out, and I step away from it, and I go and breathe. I do some yoga, or I chant, some of these transcendental sounds, and wait until things calm down. And then I consider, okay, how should I deal with that? How should I deal with this emotion? How should I deal with people or situations, that are really affecting me? What is the thing I should do that's going to produce a better outcome and make my life healthier and happier? So it's a process. So we'll chant a little bit, if that's okay. And then I think afterwards they've got, they're doing a whole scene here tonight, these guys. The people here, they're going to feed everybody, I think, in the Australian School of Meditation and Yoga. They're longtime friends, and they have programs here. And I do encourage people to connect and to try for yourself. This is not about belief. It's not about just blindly jumping into things. Take things, tiny steps, but try for yourself and see what happens. So I was asked to chant what's called the Maha Mantra, which I think is over there. I got to figure out what I'm going to do here.